What's up, everyone? In this episode, we're going to show how to import stock prices for companies using the Alphavantage API. So we're going to use a brand new Rails app today, and we'll set up a company object that will have a list of stock prices, and we'll talk about the stock data that comes in and how we're going to use it, how we will work around, or not work around, but abide by the rate limits this API provides. And then, and maybe in future episodes, we'll go about visualizing this data. And so the whole goal of this series is going to be to build an application that can send us alerts or notifications when Form 4 filings are sent to the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, for interesting companies that we may want to check out. Maybe you want to buy, maybe you don't want to buy. I don't know. This is not going to be any like finance. It's not an episode about finance. It's not going to have any stock recommendations. We're just going to play around with some tools here for reading in stock price data, for rendering that into some charts, for looking at some SEC data and playing around with insider filings, which are Form 4 filings in the United States. So let's get started and make a new Rails application. So we'll say Rails new. And we'll call this one, I don't know, Form 4 Tracker. Database is going to be PostgreSQL. And we'll skip tests and we'll skip Turbo. Actually, no, we'll leave Turbo links in there, sure, whatever. So while this is firing up, again, we will, let's pull up the SEC. So this, the SEC Form 4 filings. Rails is still firing up. So let's take a look here and see if we can find some interesting data from today. See, look at this. PagerDuty Inc. has a filing. This is a Form 4 filing, and we can see the HTML, or we can see like the plain text for the filing. This tells you a whole bunch of information about what was traded. So if we drill in here, so this is what a Form 4 looks like in HTML format. And you can see there's like a couple different rows here with different codes. The codes will represent things like, different kinds of transactions. Then here we have the acquired or disposed. So did they buy or did they sell, and what price they bought or sold at. So this is, buying 20,000 shares at 1161 and then selling 3,900 at 35, selling $3,000 at 37, selling 13,000 at 37. So this is likely they were maybe awarded some stock and then they sold it later. So yeah, this is kind of what we'll go through and take a look. This is interesting. So it was actually, oh my gosh, 1019 Market Street. I used to work in a building like right next door to that at App Academy when App Academy used to be right there on Market Street next to Zendesk. Very cool. Across the street from Show Dogs. Okay, we've got Rails installed. That's great. So we'll CD into our Form 4 tracker here. So the thing that I think that we should start with is just a company object that represents an individual company. So we'll say Rails G model company. And this on the SEC website, a company is tracked with one of these CIK numbers. I don't know if there's like a way to say that differently, SIC or CIK. But so we'll want to track the CIK. We're going to track the name. We're going to track the ticker, which is just like the symbol, the ticker symbol. And we don't actually care where it's traded at, but this shows us that it's traded on the NYC. And then the last thing that I wanted to track here was just prices. Now the prices, we could theoretically create a separate model that's related to the company model and have like a price day object that contained each row would contain like the date, a foreign key to the company, and then maybe like the open, high, low, and closing price for that day. And then we could do like different crazy queries on that. But I think to keep it easy, what I might want to do is just store all the prices in a giant JSON blob on the company. That way we can kind of just update, like just do a full sale replace of all the price data every time we fetch the price data for that company. So here what I think I might want to do is just say prices, and I think we want to store this as JSON. I'm not 100% sure. So let's see how this goes. Yeah, so a couple other things we want to do here. we want to make sure that there's not two companies in the database with the same CIK. So we can say add index to companies for CIK, and then unique true. That should add an index to the companies table, which will require that the CIK is unique across companies. And then we want to make it so that this cannot be null. And so that, yeah, that should be good enough to get us started. All right, so let's migrate this and then talk about this Alphavantage, or what is it called? Yeah, Alphavantage API. So Rails Db Migrate. I guess we might need to create it, huh? So Rails Db create. Do I have Postgres running? I do. So Rails Db create, Rails Db migrate. This will create and migrate our database to create that companies field. Okay, cool, great. So we've got this. It did add the index for a unique CIK. All right, so now the next thing I want to do is let's just write, we can just write a simple rake task. I'm trying to think through, maybe we want this to run as a background job. Yeah, so let's create a new job called like fetch company prices. And the purpose of this job is going to be to make an API call to Alphavantage, and it will backfill a company's prices. So let's take in a company ID, and we'll just look up the company. So we'll say company is company dot find company ID, and then we'll say company dot prices equals, I don't know, some sort of like price service dot fetch prices for company dot ticker or something like that, and then company dot save, bang. All right, so this price service doesn't exist. So let's go create that. And yeah, so whatever, it's just going to be a plain old Ruby object. So we'll go into our models directory and create a price service.rb. And this thing is going to be where we will wrap up the logic for interacting with Alphavantage. So does this thing actually have, so Alphavantage is an API that allows you to fetch price data or fetch financial data. And I'm curious if they have a Ruby gem or if we should just hit the API just as it is. So let's see, Alphavantage Ruby gem. Okay, it looks like there are a couple different Ruby implementations for this. Let's see. So this one seems legit. Let's try that out. So we'll go to our gem file and just say like, add this, oops. All right, and now we can say bundle install to install that gem. All right, it looks like to test the, okay, blah, blah, blah. How does this work? Okay, so we create a new client like this. So we're gonna say client equals Alphavantage client dot new, and then we pass in the API key. So let's, yeah, I'm gonna open up the credentials. I'm gonna use the Rails credentials to store the API key securely. So I'm gonna say editor is equal to vim, and then I'm gonna say Rails credentials :edit. And this should open up the Rails credentials for the application where we can securely store our Alphavantage, and then I think it's just gonna be key. And now I'm gonna go through the process of getting that key. Click to get your free API key here. What describes you? I'm a software engineer, educator, I don't know, one of those. A little bit of both. Self, and then sure, okay, get my free API key. You could do this too. You don't need to copy mine. Oh, okay, so here's my API key here. And, okay. All right, so I'm gonna paste that in there. And now we should be good to go. So like, what we want to do now is go to our price service and add, what did we initialize this thing with? So we're initializing the price service, or we're not. We just have like maybe we have a static method on there that takes in the ticker, and it's called fetch prices. So def fetch prices takes in the ticker, and then it's just going to give us back some sort of price data. And we think that fetch prices is going to work with this Ruby gem, like so. So maybe we'll have like, actually this is like self dot client, and we can put this in here. And then we can say like our key is rails.application.credentials.dig Alphavantage key. That should give us our key. And I'm going to break this onto multiple lines here so that we can render this back. All right, so this should give us a client, right? That we can use here to fetch prices. So now we should be able to say like client dot and then something. So we need to like actually find it. So here we go, client dot search stocks found, and then it gives you the output. Okay, that seems like what we want, sort of, maybe. And then instead of that, we give it the ticker. Okay. All right, return the hash received. Okay, so let's add a breakpoint in here, or yeah, so we'll require by bug, and we just want to see what is actually happening in when we execute this. So I'm going to say by bug and then 1 + 1. The reason I'm doing this 1 + 1 is because when you drop by bug at the end of a function, it doesn't actually like break inside of the function for some reason. So I got to put a little expression afterwards. Okay, so let's try running Rails console and then doing like price service dot fetch prices Microsoft, and let's see what we get. Stocks found equals undefined for Alphavantage client. Okay. Oh, yeah, we don't need that. Much. All right, so let's see. We have O here. O.methods.sort minus class.new.methods. This is one way of just seeing what kind of methods have been added to this that are a little bit different. Oh, right. So O is open struct. So what are we actually doing here? So O dot, let's see. O dot output gives us. Okay, so this is much prettier. All right, so technically, there are two matches. There is the Microsoft that we know and love, and then there's this other Microsoft for Brazil. So I think we want to just like always probably default to the first one. So let's do o.output. Or best matches .first, and assume that's always going to give us the first one, but that doesn't actually give us anything really interesting. That tells us the stock that was found, but it's not going to give us any price information, right? Let's see, do we need to do something special to get price information? So there's time series, there is indicator, there is, so time series, that's interesting. Okay, here we go. So in the documentation over here, I noticed there was a daily adjusted. This is the one that we really want, is the daily adjusted time series. So let's see if there's a way to pass in daily adjusted here so that we can get that. Okay, so it looks like there's two different ways you can do it. You can either call stock.timeseries, or you can pass in, you can create a new instance of a time series object passing in the two things. So let's see. What we want is adjusted, adjusted close. Okay, available only if adjusted is true. So do we need to pass, here we go, adjusted. Boom. Okay, so this is what I think we want to do. I think we want to find the stock like this. So we're going to say fetch the prices, and then this thing that we got back is o dot, wait, stock. Where did we get stock here? Okay, let's try this. Let's just try this. Price service dot client dot stock. Nope. Why is that failing? Uninitialized constant price service. Okay, let's see. Maybe I spelled it wrong. Let's see. Price service dot client. There we go. All right, I'm gonna need to like roll my API key or something later. Let's see. Hopefully there's a way to do that. Let's see. So price service dot client dot stock, and we want to pass in Microsoft, and we want to pass in time series true, or wait, no, adjusted true, right? No, that gives us symbol. Okay, that gives us the stock back, and then we should be able to say dot time series adjusted true. Awesome. Okay, so this should be the like split adjusted time series for the historical data, right? And so we're seeing like this was the open, high, low, close, the open price, the high price, the low price, and the close price, and we get the adjusted close price on March 12th, 2021. And then the split coefficient is nothing, but let's see if we can go far enough to see a split. It looks like we didn't. So that's fine. Like let's see if there's any pagination. Page limit, fast limit, slow limit. Okay, so that's different. That's a different thing. Let's see. Paginate page limit offset. So I'm trying to find and see if there's a way to go through different pages rather than just, it seems like we only got back to 2020. Yeah, so let's see. So perhaps we can do like ts.output and then .keys maybe. So time series daily. It's interesting that they use keys with like with spaces in them. Okay, so how far does this go back? So it only goes back, yeah, to November 6th. So that's fine. It's not all the data, but it'll go back a little ways. I wonder if there is there has to be like a different way to pass in maybe the start date or something. So let's see if our docs here start a date, maybe. Let's see, time series. All right, so in the time series thing, what do we get? We can pass in the symbol, the key, verbose, type, adjusted, interval, the output size, compact or full. Interesting. Let's see what that gives us. If the full, output size full, how far does that go? Oh, okay, so this is taking us, that took a second more. Oh, here we go. Bingo, bingo, bingo. All right, so this is going way back. All right, so this is prices for decades. Great. This is fantastic. Okay, so now what do we want to do? What do we want to do? All right, so let's jump out of here. This is something we're going to probably want. And all right, so in our price service, right, we want to fetch the prices. So we actually wanted to do client.stock symbol is the ticker. And then we wanted to do, let's see, time series is time series, and then we had adjusted true, and we had output size is full, and that'll give us a massive time series set, which we want to return, but we want to return it in like a decent format. The format that we have, let's see. Yeah, the format that it came back in with those odd keys is not the format that I want to save it in the database. So when I say fetch prices, I want to see the, I just want to get the adjusted close price. I don't care about any other prices because the time horizon is much longer than open, high, low, close. So I really just need the, yeah, this output. So then, let's see, or, all right. Oh, okay, yeah, we got to go all the way back. And, all right, and then we want to say ts.output. All right, so we really only want this adjusted close thing. So we have our time series, right? And so we want dot output, and we're going to pass in this string, which is time series daily, like so. And then from that, we get all of these prices, which have which is a key value where the key is the date and the value is this hash of all of this information. But really, I want to remap it so that it's the date that points at the adjusted close, and that's it. So how do we do that? How are we going to do that? We want to map over it, and when we map over it, we're going to get the key and the values, and we should be able to say something like return, let's see, let's just mess around with it in here. So we can say dot map k v, let's just put out, we'll print out the key, okay, and then if we print out the value, we get that. And so we want to map it to like the pair of the key and the value at some point. So the value is at the adjusted close. And let's see what that, okay, so this gives us a list of lists, or a list of like tuples, right, where we have the key pointing at the value. And then we can do this like kind of crazy trick with hashes. So a hash map square bracket operator on the class. Interesting trick. So if let's say you have an array, which is like a list of lists, right? So if you have like 1, 2, and 3, 4, right? And you wanted to make this into a dictionary where 1 was the key and 2 was the value, and then 3 was the key and 4 was the value. You can pass that into the square bracket operator on the hash class itself. So you can pass in A, which is this array, to the hash class. It's almost like a special kind of initializer. It's like a super fancy initializer with the square brackets, where you get back a hash of like element 1 to element 2. I actually don't know what happens if you have 3 elements in here. Like, let's see. Okay, cool. So it only works if you have a list of tuples. So that totally makes sense. So what do we actually want to do here? We want to map it to that, right? Okay. So we want to do that mapping, and then that's going to give us all of the key value pairs as like tuples in an array. And then we can just call this hash. Well, okay, so let's see, let's just say like day and, or date and date and close pairs is that thing. And then we want to return hash of date and close pairs. And then I think we can just use that, set that on the company, and then be good. So let's take a look. So if we were to reload this thing and then say price service fetch prices, pass in Microsoft, then we get back a bunch of prices, and that looks beautiful. Now, some of these prices have some wild decimal places. That's fine. We can clean that up later. In fact, like that probably doesn't matter. But okay, now, right. So we're not going to store them as integers in the database. And because we're storing them as floating point values, it's fine to store them as strings, or it's fine to store them as strings because we're storing them as floating point values. And then, yeah, we'll just use this. All right, so that is pretty sweet. And it looks like that is working okay. So from our job now, our fetch company prices job, I think we should be able to just like create a company that has a ticker and then call this method, and it should save the prices to this job. So let's create a company directly from the console. So let's say company.create CIK is, let's find the actually, let's just create PagerDuty as a company, and we'll set its CIK, and we'll set its ticker to PD, and we'll set its name to PagerDuty Inc. And prices is going to be empty to start with, right? Because we're not passing in any prices. Okay, so now we have a company in the database with ID 1. So we want to call our fetch company prices job perform now with 1. And if all goes well, then we should have some prices. So company.first.prices. Look at that. Epic. This is so cool. Oh my gosh. I love it. So this is the prices for PagerDuty. These are the prices for PagerDuty. They're in our database, and we're using this Alphavantage API. Let's just go sanity check one of these dates, right? So let's go see on 2/12/2021 was the price of PagerDuty actually $56.58. So if we go to like finance.google.com or something and type in PD, and oh, that's not PagerDuty, that's PDD. I don't know what that is. Okay, so how about Yahoo Finance.yahoo.com? Is PagerDuty not public? I thought it was. PD? Yeah, PagerDuty. Okay, that's weird. All right, so then we were looking at what price? 2021, 212. So year to date. Hey, 2/12/2021. Yeah, 56.58. You see that on the right side? I can't point at it because if I do, then you lose it. But cool. So that looks great. So it's actually working. That's fantastic. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate your time and attention. If you enjoyed this episode, consider giving me a quick like. It takes just a sec. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one where we're going to continue to build on this. Great. Bye, friends.